What's up, guys? It's John Dominique, Prize Picks. I'm back at you today. I am finally going to do a review on the Minolta X370 camera. I already posted the pictures that I've taken with this in a previous video. I'll try to put a link in the description below. This is the camera. Minolta X370. I have a lot to say about this. This camera got me back into shooting film. I swore off film for a while. I told myself it was too expensive. It's not worth it. I'm just going to shoot strictly digital. I saw this guy at a really good price. And I told myself, I just want that lens basically, because I'm a lensman. That's kind of how I see things. I'm all about the lenses, and I saw an f1.4, my first f1.4 lens, and I thought maybe that would be a good lens to get next. So it was on my radar, and I got it really cheap, a good price. Was happy when I got the camera. Lo and behold, the thing works. I didn't think it was going to work. I remember seeing the bottom. If you look at the bottom closely, it's got like this gray spot here where the battery compartment is. And that's usually, to me, is a sure sign that there's corrosion and that it's probably not going to work because there's battery acid that's leaked into the thing. So more than likely, 9 times out of 10, it won't work. And I told myself, you know, I was just going to write off the camera body and just keep the lens. But lo and behold, this thing works like a charm, and the battery compartment is clean. So I'm not going to complain about that. But anyway, like I said, I swore off film photography at least for a while. I told myself, man, it ain't worth it. Basically, it's too expensive. It's too slow. It's stupid. But I was lying to myself. When I got this camera, I was like, well, let me put a roll of film through it and see what happens, man. And I fell in love again with photography, with film photography. I told myself, man, I cannot quit. I wanted more and more, and this camera makes me want it. This got me back into shooting films, basically what I want to say. Now I'm knee deep, and I got more cameras, and I had to kind of put a stop to it because it's kind of out of control. I mean, it's not out of control, but it's to the point where I don't have enough time to shoot all these cameras. I work a full-time job, and it's difficult for me to get out and shoot all these cameras. I need to slow down and put the brakes on it for a second so that I can catch up to myself. I'm working on it slowly but surely. I put a roll of Fujifilm C200 in it, and a lot of people think that's a cheap film. It is cheap, and I'm not going to lie to you. I don't want to spend a lot of money, but that's not the only reason I'd use Fujifilm C200. Is because I actually like the colors and the output I got out of it. I remember putting a roll of that film into an Olympus film camera that I bought, like one of those, I don't know what, it was one of them waterproof cameras, point and shoots. I don't remember the model of it, but I ended up selling it because the viewfinder was too tiny. I just couldn't get along with the viewfinder. But the pictures that came out of that thing were spectacular. I was using Fujifilm C200, and it had some type of feel to it. And I told myself, these colors are accurate. This is a good film. Either that or the camera was really good, or the lens. And I was like, I'm going to stick with C200s, Fujifilm C200, and see how it does maybe in other cameras, see if this is a film that I will continue to use. And so far, I think it is. So yeah, I use Fujifilm C200. This is a 58 millimeter lens, f1.4, my first f1.4, as I said before. I did use also, I think I took a couple of shots with a Vivitar zoom lens, 70 to 210 millimeter series 1 that I got real cheap off of eBay, just to see how that would perform. And I'm not into zoom lenses much at all, but it was good, I think. On one of the pictures, there's one picture that I took with it in particular that came out pretty good, and I can tell it was a zoom because it was, you know, some birds that were but I wanted to try a zoom lens on this camera, and it worked out okay. It's got a Minolta mount on it, MD mount, so it worked out good. You know, it was enjoyable using that zoom lens, but I'm basically a prime shooter. So, but I digress. This camera, this Minolta X370, man, the fun factor is off the charts, dude. And I'm not too worried about my settings and the technical aspects of shooting film photography. I'm more like I'm having fun. And there's a lot in that. Like it's hard to you can't quantify that. When you pick up a camera, you vibe with it or you don't. This one I vibed with. I fell in love with it and I just feel like some type of connection to it. And it got me back into shooting film photography, like I said, and I love this camera. And I don't know, the other Minolta products I want to try. I'm going to continue to try to find some cameras, maybe in the future if things continue to work out the way they've been going. But with this camera, I don't take things too seriously. I'm having fun, and you can't really, you can't really, take that as a factor when you're shopping or when you're looking for cameras. That's not something that you can. There's no numbers to it. Like, it's a feeling basically. You have to use your intuition on it. But the camera is pretty lightweight, considering what it is with the f1.4, and that's kind of a good reason that I like it. It fits in my Tom Talk sling bag, not very comfortably, but it does fit. And I like it because it's lightweight. It's not too heavy like some of the older all mechanical cameras. It's got some plastic parts to it, so it saves a little bit on my back. I'm getting older, guys, so don't make fun of me. But it's easier to carry. It makes my everyday carry more enjoyable, more of a pleasure. Again, I was not expecting this thing to work, but I'm glad it did. My previous experience with other Minolta cameras was like, I had a couple of I had maybe two SRT 101s. Neither of them worked, and I tried to buy like three Minolta Highmatic rangefinder cameras, real small, compact ones. I like the form factors on those, and I wanted those to work, but all three of them, none of them worked. I know they're old cameras and all, man, but come on, give me a break, dude. And so I kind of, Minolta cameras to me, I was like, man, I don't think any Minolta cameras are going to work for me. It's not going to work out. So I just kind of stopped even looking at trying to get them. But when I saw this one, I was like, I'm going to get that lens. And I'm glad I got this camera and the lens, because now to me, like, I'm on a hunt for good Minolta products, man, especially that rangefinder. I'm going to try to maybe eventually still try to look for that rangefinder when I get some money, when I hit the lotto. So basically, yeah, I was skeptical taking a shot on this camera and this lens, but I'm glad it worked out. I remember I had a black SRT 101 as well that I bought off of eBay, and I was for sure it was going to work, but it didn't, unfortunately. It worked at first, but I think the mirror locked up. Every time you took a picture, the mirror would just stay flipped up until you flipped it down like with your hand, and it became impractical, and I got mad, and I was like, I don't like Minoltas anymore. So, but this camera, the handling, the size, the weight, the way it feels in the hands, the intuitive aspect of it, the way you connect with it, the way it makes you feel, the fun factor, like there's no way to put this on paper. This is something that you have to experience. And that's why I like to test out cameras. I like variety. This camera has a special place in my collection right now because of all those things I just mentioned. It is battery dependent, so that's one of the downsides to it. But I have a lot of adapters. I don't know if this takes an adapter, but I'm using an SR44 or maybe two. I don't know if it takes one or two. But the SR44s to me last a little bit longer, and it's more like they don't. The battery, it doesn't go downhill like when it runs out of power. It doesn't go downhill so fast. It kind of more of an even. But you have to do your research on that. But SR44s is where to go. It's where it's at with these old school cameras. walked around the house and walked around the neighborhood taking pictures with this camera because I just wanted to test it to see if it worked, and it does. I wasn't doing anything serious, and I'm still not probably going to be doing anything serious with most of the cameras that I get when I first get them. I'm just going to test them. I'm not going to I don't want to take too long to go through those rolls of films because usually it would take me months and months to shoot a roll, but I want to accelerate that process just to get a roll under my belt to see if the thing works, basically. So I'm looking for, victims or subjects, excuse me, in my neighborhood and around the house, just little pockets of light that I can find that might be good test subjects, test the bokeh, see how it focuses and see the close focus distance and just test it out a little bit. But I'm very happy and glad, my experience has been great with this camera. I'm back into film again, which is a good thing, and I look forward to doing more. And yeah, this camera though is great. It's manual focus. I do have some autofocus cameras which help me even more because I don't have to think too much. And this camera is not a camera where I think too much. I'm just like shooting intuitively, and I like that idea. But all the mechanical controls work really well. The lens works. The aperture ring, clicky enough, smooth enough operation on the focus throw. It's not like, it's about 90 degrees on a focus throw. You've got the mechanic or the film rewind lever works okay. It shoots good. I can't complain, dude. I like the way it feels, man. It's a little plasticky, but it's worth the cost, basically. And the only another bad downside of this camera is that there's no depth of field preview, and that's, I don't want to say it's a deal breaker, but if it had a depth of field preview, this would be a killer. I don't have too many cameras with that option. I've got like 2, but they're mechanical. I have like 2 Canons. Well, 1 Canon and 1 Fujifilm that have the depth of field preview, but this one doesn't. So I don't know if you're a professional and you want like all the bells and whistles, this is not the one. But for what it is, I don't think you can go wrong for most your common everyday shooters. You can't go wrong with this camera. It's very enjoyable, very fun. I'm enjoying it, and I'm very happy I took a chance on it. And hopefully I'll keep this guy in my collection. I don't know what time will bring. When it's time to sell, it'll be time to sell. But for now, I'm going to keep trying to enjoy this guy. John Dominique, Prize Picks.